One of the world's best but least exploited assets is solar electricity. This gift from the sun could help us all and our planet immeasurably if we really did it justice. Getting to that point won't be easy, but a look back at history shows that while the going has never been easy for solar energy, the gift is real and is much too important to ignore.
This is the story for me of photovoltaics, how the technology progressed from a scientific curiosity to a booming business today. But it's not only a story of technology, but also a story of people who bucked authority, risked it all to turn a scientific curiosity into an enduring power source. The 19th century set the world apart from all other history. And the reason for this is with the revolution in fossil fuels and fossil fuels' ability to smelt iron in great quantities, we went from a society that was dependent basically on either human power or animal power to a society that was based on machines. As these machines consumed more and more fossil fuels in the 19th century, people became very concerned about two issues. One was the pollution, and two was the running out of coal. For people like Augustin Michaud and John Erickson, they said the only way humanity could ultimately survive is by turning to the sun for energy. So they started building solar machines using what we call solar thermal power. That is, they were using mirrors to bring solar rays to a point that you can drive a steam engine. And they believed that this would be the answer to the time when humans ran out of fuels.
Throughout history, the common thread in solar technology is that the people involved in the development and use of it have all been pioneers. In 1980, Gino and Helen Holton built a retirement home that was completely off the grid.
It's quite a decision for somebody to say, okay, cut the umbilical cord to APS or whatever power source you have, and I'm going to do it all by myself now. There's many things you have to answer to, and that are you efficient enough to live off of something like that or not? And we tried it, we could, and we did it. And we wouldn't do it any other way now. When we first built the house, the electric company sent their meter reader up here, knocked on the door, and my daughter was in the house watching television at the time. So as she opened up the doorway, the meter reader says, I can't find your meter. And she said, we don't have one. Don't have one? No, we're on solar power. And he leans over and looks around her like that at the TV running and says, oh. down the hill he went, never haven't seen him since. I definitely feel like a pioneer. Yeah, I'm proud of what I'm doing there.
John Erickson developed about everything in steam technology. So he saw how steam technology was consuming fossil fuels, and that began to worry him greatly. And so he, like Michaud, decided that human progress would someday come to a grinding halt unless people reap the rays of the sun. So he spent his last 20 years building solar motors using curved mirrors. He had almost built a competitive device when he died, and he took the secrets to his grave.
In the last 2 centuries, many people have tried to put the heat of the sun to work. In the early 1900s, inventor Frank Schumann designed a complex system that worked better than anything that had yet been devised. But Schumann was derailed, first by World War I, and later by the discovery of abundant oil reserves in sun-drenched regions like California, Burma, Venezuela, Iraq, areas that would otherwise have been prime candidates for solar installations. Luckily, another much more effective path to solar electricity had long since begun to show itself.
In the 1870s, people discovered that selenium was sensitive to light. And one group of scientists named Adams and Day in 1876 discovered that if light was placed near selenium, you could get a electrical current, which they said was a completely new phenomenon. They call it the photoelectric effect. And because this threw the first wrench into classical physics, this of the day stimulated Einstein to look at this question, and he came up with this bold theory that light not only came as a wave, but as a particle of energy. Now, they called this Einstein's folly, but in 1923, it was discovered that indeed, empirically, this happened, and Einstein received the Nobel Prize for his work in photoelectricity. It meant that scientists would focus on photovoltaics for the first time without fear of any kind of retribution from their colleagues.
In the late 1980s, Gary and Marty Ross built an off-grid solar house, and later, when the power lines came to them, began selling back their excess electricity to the utility company.
We built this house in the beginning of '87. About April we started. Finished it in November. For the first 7 years, we had no city electric whatsoever, all done by the photovoltaics. Everything worked fine. We have backup gasoline generator. But you know, over the years, we've always gotten questions like, what do you do at night? You know, do you have candles? People don't realize that everything you've got in your house, I've got in this house. After 7 years, we wanted to upgrade the refrigerator and we wanted to put in a swimming pool. And by that time, the city electric had come to basically the base of our road. So hooking up became convenient. Originally, it would have cost $12,000 to $15,000 to bring in city electric all the way up to the house, and that's why we just sunk that money into the solar, and that gave us a much better payback on the system. The meter that they put in is a digital meter that goes both directions, so that we can sell back when we have excess and buy when we need it. You know, we designed this house and built this house from the ground up to be a demonstration project, if you will, and to prove that it can be done and it can be done cost effectively. And we did that. We did that very well.
The reason why people were excited about converting sunlight directly into electricity is that you don't have any moving parts and you go directly from the sun to producing electricity. But the dream was very different from reality because the problem with selenium power engineers discovered was that the amount of sunlight converted into electricity was extremely small. In fact, it was between 0.1% to 0.5%, which had no practical capabilities for a power source. So the question was, will a new material appear?
Man has long dreamed of harnessing the energy of the sun. In the 20th century, scientists turned their energy toward creating electricity directly from the sun. On February 5, 1957, the United States Patent Office issued a patent for direct conversion of energy from the sun. The recipients were 3 scientists of Bell Laboratories: Darrell Chapin, Calvin Fuller, and Gerald Pearson. This model is being driven by sunlight. In another demonstration, 9 solar cells powered a small radio.
This is a transistor radio which operates on this power. And if I plug it in, we get our sound. Take it out, it stops. Or if I plug it in again, we get sound again, turn it over. Without, to shade it from the light, it stops again.
The Bell Labs discovery was part inspiration, part perspiration, and part serendipity. Darrell Chapin, who had been assigned to find a power source for remote phone lines, was studying the possibility of solar cells made of selenium. In another department altogether, Calvin Fuller, doing semiconductor research, discovered that by introducing impurities into silicon, he had found a practical way of producing transistors. Fuller shared his results with Gerald Pearson, who worked in yet another department. Pearson examined the impure silicon.
Gerald Pearson, being an empirical scientist, said, why don't I shine some light on it and see if it produces any electricity? He measures the amount of electricity coming out and runs down to the down the hall to Chapin and says, throw away the selenium. He says, I have a new solar cell that is producing more electricity than any other solar cell has ever done. And so start working with silicon.
In 1954, U.S. News and World Report said, the silicon strips may provide more power than all the world's coal, oil, and uranium. The New York Times predicted that the silicon solar cell marked the beginning of a new era. In the United States, along with many committed individuals, we've been lucky enough to have some pioneers in government, too. One of those was Arizona Corporation Commissioner Renz Jennings, who helped create the nation's first solar portfolio standard.
Well, utilities have bias